LeBron James making a post on, I believe it was his Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Instagram, X? Clarify for me, producer Tim. I'm not sure which place he put it up. It was all of the above. He posted this across the social media landscape, posting in support of Kamala Harris, but putting together a rather deliberately misleading cut of visuals queued up with things that Donald Trump has said that were clearly taken out of context. We have a portion of the LeBron video that he posted, and let's go ahead and take a look at it now. And Amber, I'd like to get your reaction to it.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. Troublemaker. These are troublemakers. Look, I love the old days, you know? Do you know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. Now, if you had one really violent day, like one rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. But we're going to indemnify police officers and law enforcement from being destroyed by the radical left. You're changing history, you're changing culture.
Of course I hate these people. And let's all hate these people, because maybe hate is what we need.
All right, Amber. So that is so chopped up and taken out of context. It's just it's a potpourri of stuff that one has nothing to do with the other. What's LeBron doing?
He's just being LeBron. He is kissing the ring like he's supposed to. You're right. It is super chopped up. And when I watched that, I was like, this is even well edited. This is terribly edited propaganda, because you can clearly tell where the audio has been chopped into oblivion to the point where, like, I don't even know what he was originally talking about, but it certainly wasn't what was implied there. You know, MSNBC tried to pull the same thing last week when he did his rally at the Square Garden, and they superimposed images of a Nazi rally from the 1930s. And it's like, what does this have to do with anything? They're just trying so hard to associate these really, really terrible times in world history with Donald Trump, even though he has never said anything of the like. It has nothing to do with him and his campaign. And if they really had all this terrible stuff that he was doing, they'd be able to show that video instead of video from almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, they're taking some truly, truly terrible moments in American history that should be seen for what they were, that really were terrible, but that are entirely unconnected from Donald Trump. And they're trying to shoehorn Donald Trump into the Jim Crow South, into some really bad history in this country. And they're trying, obviously, to make Trump Hitler's successor, trying to make Trump the son of segregation and these truly despicable, evil things that have occurred both in American history and in world history. But if you have to take things out of context to make your point, doesn't that weaken what you're saying so much? All I could think about when I see these things, and another one that we have here, Amber, is the comments that Trump made about Liz Chaney being a war hawk and saying that the hawks, it's easy for hawks in Washington to sit back and push sending other people's children into war when they themselves don't face any of those dangers. It's real easy for me to sit back and say, let me send your kid overseas into a situation where he or she might lose their life. But I, of course, am sitting here safe and cozy, from my ivory tower that I live in. And now we've got some people, Rob Reiner among them, saying that Trump has called for the extrajudicial killing of Liz Chaney. There you see Meathead chiming in and saying Donald Trump has called for the execution of Liz Chaney. When will it ever be enough? I assume that Rob Reiner has enough functioning brain cells that he doesn't really believe that. I don't know who does believe it at this point. I think the sad part is almost half of the country has come to see Donald Trump as this bogey man figure. I don't know. What else are we going to see between now and Tuesday, Amber? I'm beginning to wonder. It seems like everything is in play right now.
That's a bold assumption that Rob Reiner has enough brain cells to know that that's what he's saying is completely insane. But I mean, just like we talked about, right? The mental gymnastics it takes to take that comment from Donald Trump and turn it into him calling for the extermination of Liz Cheney. Yet if someone on that side says something very directly, you are not supposed to take it in the way that they said it, right? So it's just like, it doesn't work one way the way that it works in the other. But I mean, we're starting to see some really wild stuff. And I don't know if it's like this desperation. I don't want to say that because I don't want to assume a red wave like we assumed 2 years ago, and that's not what happened. But it does seem like there's a lot of desperate attempts coming from that side. You know, just last week we had, or maybe it was earlier this week, we had Whoopi Goldberg on The View saying that Donald Trump was going to separate interracial couples and replace them with white men. I just, where do you get off saying these things? Like, what has he said that makes you think he's going to do something like that? And did you not pay attention to the 4 years where he was president and none of those things happened? So I really think it's just some desperate attempts coming from them, just making up all this wild stuff and hoping, grasping at straws that enough Americans will believe what they're saying.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
The funniest part was that he tried to walk this back afterward and tried to say, oh, no, you know, that's not really what I meant. And there's an old saying that goes, don't piss on my boots and tell me it's raining. And that's what's happening here. And we've seen it over and over. Like, how many times have we seen Joe Biden say something insane? We saw it this week with the garbage comments, only for the press secretary to walk it back and say something like, no, that's not what he meant. You didn't actually hear what you heard with your own ears. And Mark Cuban is just taking a page out of that exact same playbook. But it's weak. And I think people are starting to see past it. Like, if you truly believe half of the country, some 20 million Americans are stupid garbage, if you really think that none of the women who associate with Trump are intelligent or strong, then say it, and say it with your full chest. And we'll see how that works out for you on Tuesday.
Who's the bigger asshole? LeBron, Cuban, or Reiner? And I'm trying to figure out which one's the bigger asshole. And I think I have to go with LeBron. Dude, that is bullshit. To take, again, they're trying to incite violence. They're taking words that he said and matching them with heinous video that the words actually make sense to. And there are stupid people out there that consume LeBron's bullshit, and they're going to believe it. So, LeBron, you're the biggest asshole.
Young people who don't understand the context of history, you can take people saying anything and put it over a video and make it fit.
Hell, yes, you can.
If you said, hey, there's a bunch of stupid people, and then you throw up some vulnerable historical image of some mistreated person, it can make you think, oh my God, I can't believe that Ronnie T-shirts would say that. How dare he?
Absolutely.
We don't even have a connection to reality anymore. For Rob Reiner to say, look, you may be right about LeBron, but for Rob Reiner to sit here and say that Donald Trump has called for the execution of Liz Cheney is either the stupidest thing that I think I've ever seen, and there was a lot of competition for that title. Stupidest thing I've seen this year in politics, at least, or it is a cynical, evil, manipulative, just absolutely dirty, just heinous thing to do. So you're either fucking stupid or you're an evil motherfucker, Rob Reiner. It's a binary choice. It's one or the other, because there's no other reason for it. You are either that dumb or you are deliberately saying that somebody called for a terrible act. It's an un-American thing to do, to tar somebody with that kind of allegation. When I watched it, and see, here's the thing. I would have seen it the same way whether I was Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, Green Party. Ron, you're a member of the Communist Party, and you even saw it for what it was, right? You saw him as saying, which is what he was saying. It's just like bloodbath all over again.
Yep.
This is like the fine people hoax all over again. What he was saying is Liz Chaney, I bet that you wouldn't be such a war hawk if you were the one who was put in danger by your war hawking. And that's true for a lot of war hawks beyond Liz Chaney. There is a long history in this country of rich people sending poor people, rich old people, sending poor young people to die to fight wars that benefit the ambitions of the old rich people rather than the young poor people who are sacrificing their lives. That's what Donald Trump was talking about. And if Rob Reiner is too dumb to know it, then God bless him. He really is a fucking meathead, is what I would say to that, Ronnie. And I'm glad that you made your comments here, because we can't just let these things gloss over and become normalized. That's the thing that I say so often. You can't normalize this kind of behavior. And yet, if anything like this were promoted by the right that was misleading in the same way,
it would be unbelievable.
They would be fact checking it, debunking it, going through everything with a fine-tooth comb to tell you, oh, all of it. Donald Trump didn't use the fry machine the right way.
Right.
Remember that? We talked to some McDonald's employees. He didn't use the fry machine the right way. But we're going to pretend that he called for Liz Chaney's execution. Nobody who understands context and language and who has common sense could have walked away from what Donald Trump said, referring to Liz Chaney's foreign policy beliefs when it comes to engaging in conflicts around the globe. Nobody could possibly think that. So again, I'll give Rob Reiner the benefit of the doubt that he's just stupid rather than purely evil, because that's easier for me to palate, stupidity rather than just being a horrible, horrific, heinous person. But only Rob Reiner knows for sure. Mark Cuban, I used to think Mark Cuban was smarter than that. I really did. I don't
Somebody
know
has something
what has
on
motivated him.
Somebody
really
has something on
wonder.
him, Ricky. Yeah, somebody has something on him, Ricky, because he has completely changed in the last month.
He has taken a strange turn in his public persona in recent months and has been much less logical, I would argue, than the Mark Cuban that I have, gotten to know in the public discourse over the past 20 years or more. He's like a different guy
desperate. Now. He seems desperate for Harris to win. That's what it feels like to me. And so there's a reason he's desperate. He is desperate for her to win. But Ricky, I'm going to stick with LeBron's the biggest asshole because he paid somebody to put that together. He literally paid somebody to put that together. Rob Reiner, it was most likely an impulsive tweet that he made. LeBron paid somebody. He paid them. He said, here's what I want you to do. And he paid him to do it. He's an asshole.
Well, lay it out there, Ron. I don't know who cut it together, what directions they had from LeBron, etc. Well, no, obviously didn't. But the thing about LeBron is I suspect that LeBron really believes it. I don't know about Rob Reiner, but I suspect LeBron really believes
LeBron thinks that Trump was saying those things about those pictures? There's no way he thinks that.
Well, I don't know, dude. Half the country thinks that Donald Trump is the fucking devil, man, because that's what the media has been telling them for the past 8 years. So there are a lot of people out there that really believe this stuff, that they think Donald Trump is an evil person. And they think that if he is not stopped, all kinds of, Armageddon type events are going to start occurring. You and I don't see it that way, but you got to believe me when I tell you there is a large portion of Harris's voters that think that they are voting to stave off the onset of some authoritarian nightmare in our
No,
society
Ricky,
because the media has led them to believe it.
Ricky, I get that. My point is LeBron does not think that Trump's words were about the video, the pictures and the video that we saw. He knows that there's no correlation between the two. That's why I'm saying he's an asshole, because he knows for a fact that Trump did not say those things about those people and then puts this big thing. He hates us.
Well,
He's an asshole.
You're giving him more credit than I do. I think he's a naive person who does not have a firm grasp on current events based on pretty much everything that he's ever had to say about current events. So from my perspective, LeBron is probably sincere. It doesn't make it any better, but anyway, that's how I see it. Only LeBron knows for sure, Ronnie. Bill Belichick. Somehow Bill Belichick is the guy who is stringing this Halloween review narrative of mine together. We mentioned on the program yesterday that his ex-girlfriend went for Halloween as Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. There you see in her familiar yellow jumpsuit there, and that is Bill's ex, Linda Holliday. And you don't have to be a master of reading between the lines to understand the Kill Bill reference. That's pretty cute on her part. I said yesterday that Bill was probably going to shake it off pretty easily. And if we can take a look here at Bill Belichick's Halloween costume, we can see him with his current girlfriend, 24-year-old Jordan Hudson. And there's Bill dressed like the Gorton's fisherman or something resembling it. And it looks like he's hooked a prize winner there. It looks like he hooked one with daddy issues, is what it appears to me. Bill Belichick, of course, 72 years old. His girlfriend, 24 there, and apparently needed a few additional I love yous from her dad during her formative years. They met on an airplane 3 years ago. Can you imagine? 21-year-old meets 69-year-old grumpy-ass Bill Belichick. Probably had a hole in his hoodie sitting there on the airplane, and apparently it was love. They've been together now for a while, and Bill just looks like he's living his best life. Ryan Fitzpatrick chiming in on this. Remember Fitzmagic? And there's another look at her. We don't want to miss this. Thank you, producer Tim. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. There she is, wearing some old school Giants gear, dressed up as Bill. I'm being told she's 23 now. She's gotten a year younger since they began dating, and you can see Fitzpatrick down at the bottom here responding to her, decked out in New York Giants gear. He says, for all you 48-year-old hopeless romantics out there, just think your future person might not even be born yet. So you're telling me there's still a chance?
Yeah, yours is 5, Ricky.
What about if you're 53? Yeah, that is the creepiest thing that you have ever said, Ron. Let's just go ahead and bring Ronnie t-shirts in right now. We got a couple of more things that we're going to look at.
That's just horrifying.
I bring in now the international streaming star. Yes, that's absolutely. Yeah, it's just wrong, Ron. Dateline NBC is going to show up at your house. Mr. T-shirts, is there anything? Yeah, Chris Hansen is going to say, take a seat over there, Archie Griffin. I got some questions for you. Are those Zimas for you, or are they for someone else? They always showed up with Zima, Ron. I don't know. That was apparently an important part of the Predators playbook, is to arrive with a six-pack of Zima and a lot of denials. Let's take a look at Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark and Bill Belichick, Ronnie, reversed roles for Halloween. Ryan Clark putting on a Bill Belichick costume, and Bill Belichick taking on Ryan Clark's blazer, I guess, is what happened. Do we have that? I'm hoping. Yeah, there we go. Look, there's Ryan Clark. I don't know. I thought I thought that was Megan Rapinoe for a minute. Rapinoe. I'm sorry. Rapinoe. Yeah, I don't know. That looks a little bit like Megan Rapinoe to me, but that is Ryan Clark as Bill Belichick. And Ron, some people are offended by it. Some are saying that he's wearing white face and it wouldn't be tolerated if it were in reverse. I say, calm the fuck down. You know what it made me think of? I think it's
Megan
funny.
Rapinoe?
And you know what it made me think of? It made me think a little of Megan Rapinoe in 20 years, but it made me think of Eddie Murphy from Saturday Night Live years ago.
Yep.
If you remember the classic Saturday Night Live bit, I think it was called White Like Me. And it was an early video feature where Eddie Murphy went in whiteface to infiltrate white people to find out what white people were really like when black people weren't around. And it's just a genius piece of comedy. And I think one of Eddie Murphy's finest bits from back in the day when almost everything Eddie did back then was good stuff. So I think people need to calm down about Ryan Clark and Bill Belichick having a little bit of fun on Halloween. Macaulay Culkin, Ron, is out there home alone, presumably somewhere, and he dressed as Joe Burrow for Halloween. Take a look at it. I thought that really was Joe Burrow for a second. Yeah.
That is.
Look at him there on the left.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No, well, because
he really does
everybody
kind of
thinks
resemble him.
Well, everybody thinks that Joe looks like Macaulay Culkin, so that is absolutely just major props to him for that. It's so good.
He looks like 18 years in the league, Joe Burrow. That's Joe
Gosh,
Burrow's press photos for the 2039 season one day. But that's pretty cool. Joe Burrow himself, however, Ron, was asked about Halloween, and it turns out he's not a big Halloween guy. Let's take a look at what Joe Burrow had to say about Halloween.
You a big Halloween guy or no?
No.
Why not?
I'm not into celebrating something just to celebrate it, but like what exactly, I don't know exactly what we're celebrating there. Just like dress up to dress up, I don't know.
So you're not a big dress up guy?
I'm not a big dress up guy. I've always been like anti dress code, like if somebody tells me I gotta wear something, I don't want to wear that. That's just always how I've been.
Any reason why? Just like,
I don't know. I guess I'm a contrarian sometimes.
Well, there'll be many kids. There'll probably be many kids dressed up as you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Any reason?
So Joe Burrow, Ronnie, he's not going to get dressed up for Halloween. I guess he's got a little bit of that Ricky Cobb Halloween spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's a bit of a contrarian. You tell me to dress up, maybe I don't want to dress up. Like Joe Burrow. I'm marching to the beat of my own drummer. Did you see Myles Garrett had a display out in his lawn?
Well, you know he's a big Halloween guy.
Terminator. Yeah, well, see, I did not know that, but evidently this is true. This is a Terminator-inspired motif, I believe, of various quarterbacks that he has sacked during his career. And there we see, look at Daniel Jones back there, somehow looking the deadest of everybody, appropriately. Let's just look at Daniel Jones back there. Somehow he's the saddest of all the mangled quarterbacks. But yeah, you see Mahomes, and is that Jared Goff back there behind Burrow?
Yeah, I think so.
Myles Garrett is taking care of some business. Is Mason Rudolph out there anywhere? Remember they had a little incident? Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. There's Lamar Jackson. Is that Tom Brady there, I believe, that's been destroyed as well?
I guess it's probably Justin Fields.
Wouldn't it be great if he just had Deshaun Watson back there with like a masseuse skeleton working on him? But I guess they can't do that since they're teammates.
Legs
anyway,
up in the air.
I would. Oh my God! Well, you're throwing fastballs in the A block,
knees to the chest.
Ronnie t-shirts. Let's get another look. For God's sake, put something on the screen Producer Tim. Let's get another look at Ronnie's costume from yesterday. But yes, I will accept that right now too. There we go. Look at that.
Gilligan
And that's
t-shirt.
a graphic right there. That's got Dylan's name all over it. Look at that. Somewhere lost in the Pacific. If I win the football bets, I'm going to make you drink an IPA. It would be tempting just to have you come back as Gilligan after the season.
That would be preferred.
But you'd enjoy that too much. You'd start tanking if you thought you were going to get to wear that costume again. Well, Ronnie, as you may know, perhaps the big takeaway from yesterday's Halloween edition of the Ricky Cobb Show is we had a fantasy draft yesterday with myself, you, Joe Kinsey, and producer Tim, as we like to do when Joe Kinsey is on the program. And here you can take a look. The results went in the order of the picks. But Joe Kinsey, I guess my mistake, I was picking third and sixth. If you don't follow us, we do 2-round snake drafts, and then we let the public decide who won. And Joe Kinsey had the first pick, and therefore he had the last pick. He got Snickers with the last pick, and I think that's where I fucked up, Ron. I should have taken Snickers with the sixth pick rather than Starburst. But I don't think it would have changed the outcome of this. Even if I had Snickers, I think Reese's Cups were going to win. But take a look at Candy Corn and Twizzlers. That was producer Tim at the turn.
I can't see the number. It's too small. What does that say?
It's just like the milk that some like to drink, Ron. 2%. 2% of the vote here. And I only got 8.8%. So, I probably don't have any business taking a victory lap. But some of the comments that we had yesterday over on X, let's take a look at this. I don't know who won, but producer Tim is clearly a communist. For once, it's not you being accused, Ronnie.
Nice.
Protest Radio says Candy Corn and Twizzlers should qualify your producer to be on a watch list. That makes him a red dot on a map somewhere. And Francis Albert says producer Tim has got to be trolling us. Aaron Watts, imagine if Tim would have taken Twix and Snickers. As a Raiders fan, I can confidently say that Tim Raidered this draft. He was defiant about it. So, Ron, it has brought us to a climax here.
Did producer Tim understand the question?
Yeah, let's make sure we get all the mean comments in here first. Let's take another look here at the mean comments. We've got I just debated this longer than I did my vote for president. Well, there's one endorsement of the poll, and if you put Reese's together with Twix, it would be an even bigger product. So, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, you take a look at this. Was producer Tim on auto draft? That's one of my favorites. Yeah, that's one of the better ones that we've seen here. Red Vines over Twizzlers would have tipped the scales for me to that ticket, and just Tim, Jesus Christ. So I think with the backdrop of the public really just raking producer Tim over the coals, I am extending to him equal time today on the Ricky Cobb Show. A moment of history in this program, Ronnie. Welcome to the program, live via Zoom. Producer Tim joins me now. And there he is.
Candy corn
from
man.
His candy corn compound. He's like Scrooge McDuck. He just goes in there and makes snow angels in his candy corn at the end of every day. Tim, look, I know you to be one of the kindest, nicest men that I'm aware of anywhere. What happened to you yesterday with the public response? It broke my heart a little bit.
My, Ricky. Candy corn. What a travesty if it slipped to the second round. I did it for America, man. I did it for America. I did it for all the kids who grew up choking on candy corn and that extra little pennies that were put inside some of the bags. Doesn't the audience get it? Candy corn, man. 2.5 pound bags now. It's not your mother. It's not your granny's candy corn, you bitches. Come on, get with the program.
Brock's too, the good stuff. You're getting the name brand candy corn, only the finest.
2.5 pounds.
Look at that.
That's my wife. That's my wife's
2.5
impact on
pounds.
me. That's my wife's impact.
He put that out last night for trick-or-treaters, and it's all left over. They just
she would eat candy corn in July. My wife would eat candy corn in July if we let her.
That's the same with me, Tim.
It is.
Lori loves candy corn.
It's available all year round.
Incredible. Crowning achievement.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So Tim, look, I mean, defend yourself. You picked candy corn, and then you came back with Twizzlers, and you caught some shit for Twizzlers too. You just couldn't please anybody yesterday.
Well, candy corn, it's not a holiday without candy corn. So there's no Halloween without candy corn. So just for keeping the universe and the earth rotating every day, someone had to take candy corn in the first round. And I will admit I was being a little sneaky, knowing that you aggressively asked to add Twizzlers late night on a text. So I thought I would block you by taking Twizzlers there. So there was real strategy. I had my GM hat on, and clearly the X audience doesn't appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing to see that you didn't get more than 2%, because I will defend you in that candy corn is real good, as I said yesterday, until you hit that point where you realize you've had like one too many. And it comes on quickly at that point. Sometimes I feel like I want to vomit. Sometimes I feel like I hate myself. Sometimes I feel like I should just reconsider every life choice that I have made that has led me to that point of eating candy corn. But until I hit that point, candy corn is actually quite satisfying. And in your defense, Tim, it's the only thing that was drafted yesterday that says Halloween. The other candies, you get them.
That is true.
You get them all year round. He at least went with the holiday themed product, and I think he deserves at least 5% just simply for staying on brand with the holiday.
My new discovery this year is candy corn and coffee, I must admit. And as gross as pumpkin spice is, I think maybe we should come up with a new flavor here on the Ricky Cobb Show.
Candy corn communist.
Or candy corn coffee. You guys are going to make me put my glasses on and see who's firing that. But thank you.
Candy corn communist is going to be the name of Tim's autobiography one day. Well, look, if this is what it took to get you on camera for the first time in the history of this program, then, fuck it. I say so be it. It was all worth it just for this moment. As far as I'm concerned, if we could come in for a group hug right now, I would be into it. Not gonna lie. There it is. There it bring. There we go. All right, that was nice. All right, well, get back to producing, will you?
Now back to the program.
Glad to see you checking in from candy corn land. Ron, let's talk a little bit about load management, which is a favorite recurring topic here on this program. Howard Eskin, a journalist in Philly, asked head coach Nick Nurse of the 76ers about load management and whether or not, as I have said before, and I'm certainly not the only person who has made this point, but I was talking about it with Bob Ryan back on Monday, Ron. I said, it's not fair, you can argue, to families and ticket buyers who are spending their hard-earned money to come out, spend a lot of money. Let's face it, it's not cheap to go to an NBA game, really, under any circumstances. And, how good of an investment is it to say, hey, son, we'll go see the 76ers in January, when basically it's a crapshoot whether or not you're going to get Joel Embiid. You might not get Paul George. Anyway, let's take a look at what Howard Eskin asked Nick Nurse and Nick Nurse's response.
Your star player is going to play.
That's a big question to lead off with. Listen, our guys are working out. They are making progress. They're going to have workouts tomorrow, Friday. We hope to have a better indication of where they are by then. Update you then.
But that didn't answer the question. Do you think it's fair? I mean, I have complaints from people, I'm buying tickets and I don't know whether they're going to play. And
Well, they're listed as out.
Yeah.
Within the league guidelines, we have to list them. That's why the league has those guidelines, and we list them that way.
And you do it the day before, but a lot of people buy tickets earlier than that.
Well, we don't have all the information all the time, right? The reason you do it is the day before is you want to make sure, right? So you know.
So is he going to play back-to-back games, as he said he's not going to do, to give them some indication?
I think at this point, again, everything's always fluid, but I think at this point, the first back-to-back coming up, I would imagine he would not be part of, but I don't know which end of that yet. I just don't know where you're at when you're leading into that to make those decisions.
All right, so there you have it. Nick Nurse responding and kind of talking in circles, although that's not really a question for Nick Nurse. I don't think that the directive is it's being given to him. I don't think that it's necessarily a decision that he is making, but that was a tough one for him, Ron. I thought he was going to start out his response by saying, I grew up in a middle-class family.
Middle class, yeah. 100%.
He was struggling a little bit there. Yeah, I mean, we live in a funny world, don't we, when the Philadelphia 76ers head coach is taking harder questions than a candidate for president, but so it goes. Daryl Morey is the guy that that question should be directed to. He, of course, is the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers and probably is the guy who's going to dictate a lot more how that policy is going to play out than Nick Nurse.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.